Okay, we do have 10 minutes, but
Yes, ma'am. Are you going to be my timer?
yes, I will.
So we be my timer.
I will definitely time your butt.
I know. Jenny and I met 2 years ago, I think, in Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, we did.
And she timed me then, too. Well, I have to say I'm pleased to be a deplorable for Donald J. Trump. Well, for those that don't know, my proper first name is Wayshak. And Wayshak is spelled W-A-Y-S-H-A-K. So Wayshak is my great-grandfather's name. He immigrated from Damascus, Syria. He was on the Coptic Christian side and wanted to come to our country because he believed in the American dream. And he wanted to bring his family and his posterity here. So he passed that name to my grandfather, who, by the way, mapped the North Pole after World War II. Very interesting story for another day. He would give that name to my mom gave it to me. So Wayshak is my proper name. Some people call me the Way. I feel a little bit uncomfortable with that, especially after that wonderful prayer. Fantastic. But most people call me Shaq, or low-cost housing, or something like that. So, I want us to dig deep inside. I want us to channel our inner Nancy Pelosi. I want you to do that. I want you to do that for just the next 3 or 4 minutes. Because I want to tell you about Nancy Pelosi's policies. There are material differences. I know you're giving me the Nancy eye. There are material differences between Nancy Pelosi and the regular Republican. But Nancy Pelosi in 2015, she voted for the Obama budget, which busted all of the spending caps that you and I might be familiar with, called the Omnibus bill. This year, in 2017, she voted to keep Obamacare in place. She voted to force our dollars to pay for transgender surgeries in the United States military. She voted on October 5th against President Trump's budget. She's also a rabid never-Trumper. The reason I say rabid is because she goes out of her way, right, with every single Democrat. She goes out of her way. She voted to keep No Child Left Behind in place, to continue funding Planned Parenthood to the tune of $500 million and other things. So I have a quick question for you. If Nancy Pelosi kept everything the same, didn't change any of her positions, but called herself a Republican, would you support her? No. No. Even Mark Levin points to the Conservative Review, if you're familiar with that scorecard, and Mark Levin, the talk show host, he has, or that scorecard has Nancy Pelosi at 28% on the conservative scorecard. You would expect her to be that low, wouldn't you? Just to put that, maybe lower. Just to put that in perspective, Maxine Waters is at 26. Okay. Well, I just heard Barbara Comstock her name over here, and I have to tell you very candidly, I misled you just a little bit. Because even though everything I just said was about Nancy Pelosi, it's also about Barbara Comstock.
Oh, yes. Establishment GOP.
Barbara Comstock voted for the Obama budget. She voted to force our taxpayer dollars to pay for transgender surgeries. And like many of you here, my 2 boys, my oldest 2 boys, represent the 4th generation of our family to wear our nation's uniform. And when you vote for transgender surgeries in the military, you are intentionally weakening the military. It doesn't, and I'm not taking a position on whether or not you should have that surgery or not, but that's a personal decision, but it should not be one that our taxpayer dollars pay. And so she voted for that with every single Democrat. And I'm not exactly sure why. You'd have to ask her. So if you're looking for somebody in the 10th Congressional District, if you're looking for a representative in the 10th Congressional District, which is a Republican district and a conservative district, somebody who graduated from the United States Air Force Academy, somebody who's a decorated combat pilot, I'm a small business owner, I've started several successful businesses. Somebody who's been a volunteer for their entire life, up to and including my wife and I volunteering to foster children that came into the system. Many of you know this. Since 1997, we fostered 46 children in our home. And we adopted 4 of them to keep a sibling together.
I know.
So if you're looking for somebody like that who wants to be pro-growth, pro-national security, pro-America, and move President Trump's agenda forward, I'd love to be your representative. And I'd love for you to come on board and be a part of my team. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I'd love to answer questions if you have any. But thanks so much, Oreen, for having me, and Paul for having me, and all of us, and over your home. Thank you very much. Yes, sir, Tom.
I followed advice of writing a letter, not an email, but a letter to Barbara Comstock asking about this transgender funding. I never got an answer.
She will say that officially she trusts the Secretary of Defense to come up with a policy. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that's not the case. Here's why. Because Barbara Comstock's, one of her largest donor bases is the LGBT community. And our founders said that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. So I want you to Google Barbara Comstock, Paul Singer, like the sewing machine. Really, please do that, because it will make you frustrated. But yes, that's probably why she didn't answer. Yes, ma'am.
Just to comment on that, it's my understanding, my husband had to retire from the reserves, which were, of course, being used a lot to deploy, when he was determined not to be deployable anymore from herniated disc in his back. How could somebody going through transgender hormones and surgery be deployable when you have to be deployable to be in the military?
No, I totally agree with you. They're not deployable. Even if you have diabetes, you're unable to be in the military because we can't guarantee insulin on the front line. I mean, like I said, it's an intentional weakening of our military, but it's also to satisfy one of her largest donor bases. So, Carol, did you have a question? Did I see you?
I just wanted to ask
Yes.
how you would vote on this tax bill.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. The tax bill is something that I do think we need to move forward. Remember, the tax bill should do 3 things. It should literally lower our taxes. Imagine that. So it should give a tax break to those who pay taxes. The other thing it should do is it should make everything more simple. It should just simplify the tax code, which is far too complicated. And the third thing it should do, it should foster growth. So there's some things, Carol, about it that I like. The fact that they're going to lower the corporate taxes, but I don't like the fact that they've got this kind of a loophole that taxes the rich again. So I think in general, I would want to see a tax package move forward. I would want to see it go to the Senate, and I would want to see it be stronger coming out and helping President Trump move forward. I'd like to see it better, but I would move forward. Donna?
What is your position on DACA recipients, specifically a possible path to citizenship for them?
So what's my position on DACA recipients? Well, quite simply, you cannot be anti-DACA, or you cannot be pro-DACA, I should say, and anti-MS-13. You just can't. Because, yeah, absolutely, please. Okay? You can't. If you come into our country and the first thing you did is break one of our laws, then you need to figure out a way to go back outside of our country and come back to the normal way. My great-grandfather's an immigrant. There's probably many of us here that are connected to immigration, but you have to do it correctly. So I am against the DACA program.
Thank you.
So, yes.
What's your position on this Article 5 Constitutional Convention?
Yeah, the Article 5 Constitution, for those that might not be familiar, and I don't have a lot of time since I see Jenny standing up, two ways to amend the Constitution. One of them is a push from the Congress, and one of them is a push from the states. I'm very concerned about the Article 5 when it is pushed from the states. I'm not certain that that's the right way of amending the Constitution, so I would be against the Article 5 as it is today. I know there's a lot of people who are for it, I know there's a lot of passion about that, but you know, the Department of Education is against the Constitution. There is no federal authority, and yet we have it undertaken. So if we amend the Constitution through an Article 5, I'm just leery about that. I would like to say, in closing, that I want to see the 28th Amendment. Let's start with the 28th Amendment. And here's what I would propose. That every law passed out of the Congress is equally binding to the same Congress that passed the law. I think we would get a lot of good work. I think we would. So I very much appreciate it, Jenny. It's good to see you again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you all again. Shack Hill, I need you to come on board this evening. All right, take care.